Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, family, Shabbat shalom. We are here with House of Restoration. This is Wes Smith, witnesses of Yahuwah, and I just ask that y'all keep my leaders, Peter Michael Martinez and his lovely wife, keep them in prayer as they do the Operation Prayer Wall. They're going around the United States, stopping and praying and meeting up with all their members. And just blowing the shofar just wherever they can. Another thing I want to throw out there is continue to keep us in your prayers. My wife will be doing her surgery come Monday, and we know that all is well because he have divinely ordained this to happen. And so we'll kind of get into all that because I was looking at something when we hear that word "well done." Look what's attached to it, my good and faithful what servant. And so when we look at what a servant is, we have to actually take the time to understand we're not talking about a slave that just is being beaten and whipped to do any. We're talking about somebody that was willing to sacrifice, somebody that was willing to put away their own will to service somebody else. Kind of like when you go to work. You go to work to do service for somebody else because you're helping bring that company or you're helping bring interest into that company by performing a job or a duty. I mean, and so many of us will be placed with the task in this walk with certain duties. And remember the one with the talents. Remember the ones that did what they were supposed to do, and they were given more. So we've been going over this study for a couple of weeks now. So much is given, much is required. The first shall be last, and last shall be first. Many are called, but few are chosen. And so we just been talking about these things. And so as we go through the Shabbat, we have to realize and understand what it means to be a good and faithful servant. To hear that word, well done. Last week we talked about how the worst thing we can hear is depart from me, ye work of iniquity. But think about that moment in time. What are we waiting on? We're waiting on the appearance of our Messiah. We're waiting on the appearance of his coming. So in that day and that time when he does return, we receive the reward that is with him. Remember, he said, "My reward is with me." And so we have to realize. And so I want to break down a couple of those what those rewards are. And just first off, the reward is better than anything with just to be able to be face to face with your Creator. Um, Secondly, it would be to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." So to be in that lineup would be just amazing. I mean, because Yah, it's just the way that Yah deals with his people. I mean, and so we have to realize that as we're on this journey, there will be certain advents that avenues that we have to take, and uh that will be delivered our way. I mean, and so we have to be able to run this race with what? Patience, with endurance. We have to be able to be able to hold on even when we feel like everything is falling apart. I mean, it doesn't matter if you've been doing this a year or whether you've been doing it 50 years. Uh, your attitude, your status should never change. And as you saw in my thumbnail, it said, "Well done, my good and faithful what servant." It had all those other things crossed out. I had bishop crossed out. I had apostle crossed out. It doesn't matter what kind of title that you're carrying, because at the end of the day, if you're not being a servant, look at something real quick. Because if we go to Matthew chapter 25, Matthew chapter 25, we see where you got the separation of the goats and the sheep. I mean, and so in that section, we already been reading Matthew 25. We read about how he gave the 5 talents, right? To one. He gave 3 talents to another. He gave 1 talent to another. And the one with 5 went and brought forth entry. So he gave him more and said, enter in, well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master. And then we turned around and we saw the one with the 3 coins. He brought back more, right? And so we know that it goes essentially with what Tamika was teaching on the threshing floor. When we plant, we have to realize that when we're planting, we're dropping seed, but from those seed will produce more fruit, and from more fruit, more understanding, more knowledge, more wisdom. And so we're not looking at this thing naturally, we're looking at this thing spiritually. So we have to understand that as we go through this thing, we have to understand what is being presented to us. So let's look at Matthew chapter 25, starting from verse 31. Because as I get through with this, I kind of want to go into the Hebrew language and break down what a servant is, because you have 2 different words that represent servant. So let's look at this real quick. So Matthew chapter 25, starting from verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all his holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all the nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. He shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father. Listen to this. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And what did Yahushua say? He said, I go to prepare a place for you. So look at, he said, go and enter in, inherit the kingdom. Inherit the kingdom. So we go from servants to sons and daughters. I mean, from servants to kings and queens, which we are already in his sight. We are already all that, but we must suffer with him in order to reign with him. So we have to go through a little something in order to receive something. Remember, to much is given, much is required. To that has a lot, much will be given unto you. But to him that has least, it will be taken from him, because he's not willing to do more with what was given to him. So look at, and he said, he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, and inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For look at this. For I was hungry, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Adonai. Now I'm going to show y'all the difference between the righteous and the wicked, okay? So it said, the righteous answered him, saying, Adonai, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? When did we see you a stranger or take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, now look at this. They were serving others, but they were doing it in the service of Messiah's name. So he said, as you do it unto the least of these little ones, you are doing it unto me. Now, the righteous answered him, saying, when they said, when did we do this? See, it became their second nature, right? Because our first nature is sin. But when we take on and we become born again, you know how you begin to do something, you learn how to do it so well, we say it's second nature to you. So they begin to do it, and they replicated the actions of Messiah, right? And so they begin to do this. They were feeding people. They were just doing it out of love and kindness. And he said, out of love and kindness is how I drawn thee. And remember this now, when he would do these things, he wasn't doing it to get attention. He wasn't doing it to get praise. He wasn't doing it to get the glory. He was doing it that the Father may receive the glory. He wasn't doing it to have a packed out church. He wasn't doing it to have so many views. He wasn't doing it to have so many likes. He was doing it because it was the service that he was called to do. Right? So now look what the next group say. So, and the king shall answer and say unto them, Amen, I say unto you, insomuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Now, look what they will answer. Adonai, when did we see you hungry or thirst or stranger or naked or sick or in prison or did not minister unto you? So they answer with a question, right? So they turned around and so this is what he said. Then shall he answer them and say, Amen, I say unto you, insomuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these. That's when you question, should I do this? That's when you question, man, should I give this to that person? Should I do this for that person? See, so that's what we have to really do an inventory check on ourselves. We have to ask ourselves, are we actually out there doing the thing that Messiah has called us to do? Shalom. Shalom. All right. So now look at what a servant is. Let's look at what a servant is, because if we look at what a servant actually is, then we see that, like Job, for instance, when you go to Job, right? And Job chapter 1, verse 8, Yahuwah said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Right? He said, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that fears Elohim and can't stand evil. Then Satan answered Yahuwah and said, does Job fear Elohim for naught? Right? So let's look at the letters for the word servant, because you got the word abed, which actually breaks down to when you look at that word, it means a servant that has been freed by his master but chooses to stay and serve him out of devotion. So you got the word of it, the letter ayin, which represents the eye, right? It represents the eye. And so it means we can know and experience Yah, right? And so what does Matthew 7:7 say? Seek and ye shall find, ask and it shall be given. And then you got bet, which is this. That's the Hebrew letter for bet, which means the hospitality of the heavens or the household. So what did he say? He said in John chapter 14, verse 3, he said, I have gone to prepare a place for you, right? So then when you look at the other letter, the let, he said, when we open the door and enter the pathway to eternal life. What did Yahusha say he was? He said that he was the door. He said that he was the way, the truth, and the life. And the only way to enter into the presence of the Father or the kingdom is through him. He's the one to the sheepdog, right? So, and to the sheepfold. But then you got Sharash, which means high ranking and trusted servant. So this is kind of like what Joshua was, in other words. So when Yahuwah was saying unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Remember this, a lot of times we're going to go through things and Yah has already placed us in that position. So he's saying, have you considered my servant Tamika? Have you considered her? I mean, you're able to do everything, but don't touch her soul. So now let's look at that word Sharash. You got, it looks like a W, but those are teeth. Those are teeth. And the teeth represents a letter used for Yah to identify himself, like in Exodus 3:14, I am that I am, right? So then you got the word Resh, or the letter Resh, which means represents the head, a picture of the head, or it stands for a leader or a prince. What did he say in Deuteronomy 28:3? 28:13, he said, I will make you the head and not the tail, right? Okay, so now you got the tav, right, which represent crossed sticks or a cross or a covenant or a seal, right? And what did he do in Exodus 31 and 13? He said that the Sabbath shall be a sign between Israel and Yahuwah. And then in Genesis chapter 15, verses 1 through 15, what did he do? He made a covenant with Abraham. So there are covenants that it has been made. So now let's look a little bit deeper, because if you go to Job chapter 19, verses 25 and 27, look what is said right here. He said, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. See, he had already believed that one day he would be revived, he would be restored. He knew that Messiah would come and follow through as a servant of Yah. And so Job is saying right here, he has done all that he knows to do, and he's staying faithful to Yah. So one day what he's telling you is that he will hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. So look what he's saying. He said, and though after my skin worms destroyed his body, yet in my flesh shall I see Eloi. Right? He said he shall see Eloi. And we'll discuss that a little bit more. Let's go right now and look at Revelation chapter 22. Revelation chapter 22. Right? He said, because he shall see Eloi. What he said at Revelation chapter 22, starting from verse 11. Revelation chapter 22, starting from verse 11. Let's look what he said. Right? So Revelation chapter 22, starting from verse 11. He said, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Now go back to verse 4 real quick and look what verse 4 says. It said, and they shall see the face, and his name shall be in their forehead. The Tav, the sign, the seal. Because we will be sealed with his name. All right. So now this is only recorded right in Revelation, but if you go to Isaiah chapter 40, Isaiah chapter 40, because we just saw what Job said, that he shall see Eloi, right? Isaiah chapter 40, verse 11. Look at this. It said, he shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. So what is that? In order for him to do these things, you will be face to face with him, because he's leading you. He's feeding you. He's guiding you. Where else do we hear this at? We hear this in Psalm chapter 23, right? Psalm chapter 23, Yahuwah is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. And look again, he leads me in the cycles or the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And what did we just say the letter Delet mean? When we open the door into the pathway to eternal life, right? So he is the shepherd he's the shepherd of our souls. And so in order for us to receive that well done, in order for us to hear that well done, we have to be able to stay as a humble servant, as Messiah did. It's not our duty to get out of place. It's not our duty to try to fight the battle. It's not our duty to try to even to win, because he's already won. All we have to do is just be strong and hold on. We have to continue to trust and believe that he's going to do what he has set for his power in this earth to do. All right. And so we know that this is not a spiritual battle. We know that we know that it's not a carnal battle, but a spiritual battle. And so many people are trying to fight this battle carnally. So many people want to make arguments about this and make arguments about that. but we can never come in agreeing with the matter that is necessarily at hand. And that's that souls are saved from the wrath to come. I mean, because there's so many people out there that is blinded. So many of our brothers and sisters that don't even recognize who they are, don't understand the calling on their life, know that they got a calling on their life, but just refusing to accept. They have heard the glorious gospel, but it's turning it down. I mean, so now let's look at a little something, because if you go to Hebrews chapter 11, we have Hebrews start. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 12. What does it actually say? Hebrews chapter 12 say, wherefore seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us. The sin easily besets us. I mean, because our first nature is we are born in sin, shaping of iniquity, right? Because of the fall of the first Adam. But the second Adam came to restore, so that our nature now should be to help those that thirst, to feed those that hunger, to clothe those that are naked, to go see those that are in prisons, right? To be able to lift up one another when we are going through. And so look what he said. He said, to cast aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, let us run with patience, listen, the race that is set before us, looking unto Yahusha, the author and finisher of our belief, who for the joy that was set before him endured the what? Cross, the sign and the sealing, the covenant. That's the new covenant. Despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahuwah. And what did he say? When he sit down at the throne, what would he do? He would separate the nations, and he would put the wicked on the left and the righteous on the right. And then he would tell them, well done, my good and faithful servant. Right? So now let's look at a couple of individuals in scripture that has heard that well done, that at that appearing of his coming will hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Look at Hebrews chapter 11, and I'm gonna just start from verse 1, and I'm gonna read. All right. Now, belief is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, for by it the elders obtained a good report. Through belief, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahuwah, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By belief, Abel offered unto Yahuwah a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. Yahuwah testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaks. Look at that. Now look what else it say. By belief, Enoch was translated that he should not see death. It was not found, because Yahuwah had translated him. For before his translation, he had the testimony that he did what? Pleased Yah. And when you're a good and faithful servant, that's what happened. I remember in the scripture I was reading, well, Daniel said that he had prayed, and he fasted for 20 and was praying for 21 days. And it wasn't until the 24th day that he received his message, because Gabriel said that he was fighting with the Prince of Persia. Now we're talking about spiritual principalities and powers and areas of the world where strongholds were at once so advanced. But it said that he sent Michael, and Michael helped him, right? So the warfare was going on in the air. But what did he tell Daniel when he first got done? He said, you are beloved by Yahuwah. He said, your prayer was heard the first day. It was heard from the first day. I was fighting a battle. I was fighting a battle on your behalf, because those strongholds were trying to take hold. And then another time when Daniel was in the lion's den, right? Come on now. The man was found so faithful that he sent angels to close the mouth of the lion. You got the 3 Hebrew boys that would not bow when everybody else bowed if they was willing to stand. Right? They were willing to stand for their faith. And they believed that even if y'all didn't save them at that moment, that they would be resurrected. That they would still see the face of Yah by remaining faithful to what? Torah, to his commandments. Not breaking the cycle that all the other Yahudim and Israelites was breaking just because they were fearful of their life. They was afraid for the. But what did we just read what Job said? He said, "The worm destroyed his flesh, and his flesh enters into the ground. One day I shall see my LOI." And so we have to keep in mind, in order to hear well done, we have to run this race with patience. Listen, it don't go to the strong nor to the swift, but he that endures unto the end. Look what else it said. It said, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that comes to Yahuwah must believe that he is what? That he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that seek him diligently. By belief, Noah, being warned of Elohim of things not seen as yet, no rain had ever failed. But he told him to build an ark. And yes, he looked crazy. And a lot of times we gonna look crazy. He told me when the hurricane was going, and I haven't even posted that video yet. He told me when the hurricane was going. Go to Walmart's parking lot and blow the shofar. People were looking at me like I was crazy. But that was a warning. That was a warning of things to come. Do y'all realize that we have a super blood moon coming between tomorrow night, starting at like 11:38, and it ends at like 12:40 or 1 o'clock? That's a sign that he's sending to us. It's time to get ready. It's time to be prepared. Remember the wise virgin? The wise virgins had their oil ready, but the foolish virgins didn't. And so guess what happened? They had to depart from him, because once the door was closed. Oh, let's talk about that a little bit, because remember now we're talking about the delet, which is that letter that means when we open the door and enter the pathway. So we have to be ready, so when that door opens, we're able to enter in. Remember, he said he is near, he is at the door. He is the door, right? So look what else it said. By belief, Noah, being warned of Elohim of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by belief. He became heir, right? And then it passed to Abraham. Then it passed to Isaac. Then it passed to Jacob. Then it passed to David, and on and on and on, all the way to Yahusha, the divine line. All right. And so we see as servants, we have to be willing to do what? Put our will aside to do the master's will. So let's look what it means again. Abed means a servant that has been freed. Listen, you were freed from sin, right? But you weren't willing to leave your master that had already freed you. You chose to stay and serve him out of devotion. What is devotion? It's love. It's caring. And not only that, it's also trust and faith, because he's been good to you. Are you willing right now, anybody that's hearing this message or hearing the message of the gospel for the first time, willing to lay down your own agendas, your own life, your own things that you want, your dreams and all that, just to walk side by side with Messiah in that day and that time when he appears? Are you ready to hear well done? Or will you hear, depart from me, ye worker of iniquity, for I never knew you? Even those, I'm talking to those that are in this walk and just already in their mind got it all together. They're like the Pharisee that was praying and just saying to themselves that I know that I have done this and I have done that and I have blah, blah, blah. But then you got the one guy that just said, I am a sinner. Forgive me for my sin. Instead of him preaching and teaching all this different type of stuff, but at the same time being a hypocrite, a hypocrisy, an actor. And so that's something that we have to look at. Is our faith, are we going to be found written in this area full of faith to believe something that is afar off? Remember, so many people don't believe that Yahushua is coming. That's right. So many people, they say that he delays his coming, right? But yet at the same time, they didn't believe that he came when they didn't believe that he came. I don't believe this stuff keep popping up. My goodness, just go away. All right. They don't believe that he came as the Messiah. And so they persecuted and they got rid of him. And sorry, y'all, for the beats. I'm keep getting like all these messages from YouTube. All right. So when we look at this, Dawn, we have to recognize that Yahuwah is doing all and has already set a plan from the foundations of the world, because he said, inherit this kingdom that have been already set from the foundation of the world, right? And so the kingdom has already been prepared from the foundation of the world, from the beginning of time, when even at that point in time when Adam was spending time with Yah, he was able to sit down with Yah in the garden and converse with him at level. And so what Yahushua did, he restored that. But this is what I'm saying. Just like these men believed by faith, the stuff that hadn't even happened yet. The rain hadn't fallen, but he built the boat, right? He had his first son, but he had many sons, but yet he's still the father of all nations, right? He changed his name before he even gave him the promise. But he believed him and he became the friend of Yah. Look at this. Look what up. And so it say, by belief, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should, after receive for an inheritance, obey, and he went out, and not knowing whether he went. By belief, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Yitzchak and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which has foundation, whose builder and maker is Yahuwah. He was looking forward to the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahuwah. Not looking at the kingdom of building a natural kingdom. See, that was the problem with Judas. He was looking for a natural kingdom. And in that natural kingdom, in that mindset that he was looking for a natural kingdom, he was ready to betray Messiah. And in betraying Messiah, it set the wheels in motion, because he said that at the hands of the Gentiles, he shall suffer many things, and which he did. And so now we suffer as we go through. And I'm not going to even sit up here and sugarcoat it and say that it's supposed to be easy, because so many of us think that it's supposed to be easy. Do you think it was easy when Joshua went to conquer? Yes, he gave them a land flowing with milk and honey, but they still had to go through and conquer the land. And it still wasn't fully conquered until David's time. Do you think that it was easy to go up against a giant, even though you was anointed king? But his faith led him to believe that one day I will be king of Yah's nation. And through that, he was able to slay a giant. He was able to slay a bear. He was able to slay a lion. So you're going to have lions, bears, and giants in this fight. Whether it's called cancer, whether it's called MS, whether it's called whatever other diseases, HIV, whatever it is, because guess what? You go through certain circumstances, but Yah is a rewarder of them that seek him diligently. And as you go and you fight this fight, Yah is gonna protect you. Remember, it said if you remove the hedge, then the snake will bite you. Huh? That's when you become like a dog that's turned back to his own vomit, and you begin to do the things of the world again. When you begin to turn away and you begin to walk away and do what you want to do, not doing what Yah has ordained you to do, right? So look, let's continue to read verse 10. For he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is Yahuwah. Through belief also Sarah, herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even one of him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore, and innumerable. These all died in belief, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Remember your sojourners here, right? For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have return. But now they desire a better country, that is a heavenly. Wherefore Yahuwah is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared for them what? A city. Remember, I gone to prepare a place for you. Where in my Father's house there are what? Many mansions. And don't think of it from a carnal mindset with a big old house that got all this land and all that. See, we start thinking about things carnally. Listen, just to be in his presence, that's a mansion. Because he's big enough for each and every one of us. I mean, so now look what he said. But by belief, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Yitzchak. And he that had received the promise offered up his beloved son, of whom it was said, that in Yitzchak shall your seed be called. So even, listen, he believed that even if he sacrificed Yitzchak, shalom, my brother, good to see you, brother Magda. He even believed that if he sacrificed Yitzchak, that Yahuwah was able to resurrect him. And so because he wanted to hear well done. He didn't want to hear well done, my good and faithful bishop. Well done, my good and faithful apostle. Well done, my good and faithful pastor. Well done, my good and faithful minister, teacher, whatever you call yourself. He servant. That's our duty is to serve. And in doing his will, what are we doing? We serve. And fulfilling his will. Look what he said, accounting that Yahuwah was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By belief, Yitzchak blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By belief, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worship, leading upon the top of his staff. By belief, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Yasharel and gave a commandment concerning his bones. Listen to that. Like he had already prophesied, when you leave here, take my bones with you and bury it in the land of all fathers. He said, by belief, Moshe, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. And sometimes we're going to be given commandments that the land of the land that is totally opposite of what Yah teaches us. Yah gives us commandments, and yet we're so willing to follow the commandments of the land, but yet we'll overthrow the commandments of Yah, not realizing that he is greater than that, because the king's heart is in his hand. I mean, so look at this. And by belief, Moshe, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Yahuwah than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Listen to this. Esteeming the reproach of Mashiach greater riches than the treasures in Mitzrayim, for he had respect unto the recompense of the what? Reward. Of the reward. Let's look at a little bit. I'm going to stop right there. And you continue to read that. Continue to read over there. All these scriptures that we're looking at, let's continue to read them. Let's look at something. Let's go back to Matthew real quick. MATTITHYAHU, chapter 20. Go to 24. Matthew chapter 24 and verses 45 through 51. Right? Because as we look at that, Yahusha is asking, he said, who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his Lord has made rule over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he comes, shall find so doing. I mean, I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord, do what? Delays his coming. What did I just say? I said it earlier, scripture says it, that in their heart, in people's hearts, they say, they've been saying that since the beginning of time. Remember when Noah was building that ark, they said, oh, he don't know what he doing. Ain't nothing coming. But guess what? Yahoo sent that flood and Noah was what? Lifted up. That's right. Right? Just like they said, Messiah, when Messiah was there, you're not the Messiah. If you listen, they said, are you the Mashiach? He said, you clearly say so. He gave them the answer right there. They asked the question that was rhetorical, and he said, you clearly say so. Right? In Matthew 26, when they was questioning him, the Pharisees, the Parashim, the high priest, they answered their own question. You clearly say so. So look what he said. He said, I mean, I say unto you that he shall make him rule over all his goods. But and if that evil servant say in his heart, my Lord delays his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants. Listen to this. Listen to this. Lord, y'all begin to reveal to me. Smiting your fellow servant doesn't have to actually be attacking them naturally. I'm talking about those pastors, those preachers, those bishops, those apostles, those teachers, those ministers, all those that are leading people astray. That's smiting your fellow servant, because see, you don't allow yourself to get so big in your mind that you're playing. You made yourself substitute for God, right? Yeah, because instead of you serving, you want them to serve you. You got them out getting your coffee. You got them out getting your dry cleaning. You got them out cleaning the church. You just stopped doing all the things that y'all that he taught you at the beginning to do. And so that's something that I had to learn is, you know what, a servant means being able to humble myself regardless of whether I'm a minister. I don't care whether I have people under me or not. If I see them doing, hey, I'm gonna do it. And that's the same way I am as a supervisor. And a lot of times my guys be like, man, you should even be out here on the floor. But I be like, well, how can I receive your faithfulness if I'm just sitting there watching you do all the work? We could do it better if we all out here working together. And so that's something that we had to be careful that we're not smiting our fellow servants. I don't care how good of a prayer warrior you are. I don't care how good of a preacher or a teacher or a minister or whoever you are. I don't care. It's not your duty to play Yah. You're still his servant. And so therefore you have fellow servants. And even the angel, listen to this, even the angel, when John bowed down to him, he said, you don't bow to me. I'm your fellow servant. This is a being that has a higher status than him, right? Because he's right there before Yah, the angel. But yet, when John bowed down to him, he said, see that you do it not, because I am your fellow servant. See, when we allow as leaders, when we forget that we are to be a servant leader, when we forget that, that's when we begin to smite our fellow servant, because now we have them serving us. Well, and then we turn around and we teach this. We say, well, if you're being faithful to us, you're being faithful to Yah, right? And yet they left their faithfulness behind because they're no longer serving, but being served. Yahusha said, I come not to be served, but to serve, right? Look what else it say that they begin to do. If you shall begin to smite his fellow servant, to eat and drink with the drunken, to eat and drink with the drunken. Hold on, I thought Yahusha sat down and ate and drunk with those that drank. He did, but he was saving those that were sinners. He wasn't joining in on their debauchery. He wasn't joining in and allowing himself to. Now, was he being called a wine bibber? Was he being called gluttonous? Yeah. But guess what? He wasn't doing what they were doing. But when you find yourself start doing what those are doing and smiting your fellow servant, then guess what? He got a problem with you, Because the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looks not for him, and in the hour. Remember, what does Apostle Peter tell us? Be sober, be of a sober mind. Why is that? Because your enemy, Satan, roams this earth as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He told us to be sober and vigilant. What is vigilant? Being aware. What is sober? Keep being able to think for yourself. But when you become drunken, guess what? You stop paying attention, because it begins to attack the part of your mind where where your thought process makes the right decisions. And so therefore you think you could drive drunk, you think you're still in your right mind. You say things to people and you forget what you say. Oh, I can tell you and I can attest, because I was a drinker. And will wake up the next day and forget everything that was said or done. So we can't allow ourselves, and I'm talking about you get drunken in the spirit, get holy, what we call high and holy, to where you're no longer earthly. We have to stay low. Look what he said. The Lord that servant shall come in the day when he looks not for him, and in the hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder and appoint him, listen, his portion with the hypocrite. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But I want to show you something, because I was looking up and I saw 5 crowns that a servant that is told well done will receive, right? And these crowns are, let's talk about first the crown of life, right? Go to James chapter 1, verse 12. James chapter 1, verse 12. And it said, blessed is the man that endures temptation. Because remember, we're all tempted. Messiah was tempted, was he not? In the wilderness tempted? Yes, he was. But what did he refute Satan with? The word. And so therefore, when we at the point where it feel like we can't hear Yah because his voice is so loud, and I mean Hasatan, when it sounds like his voice is so loud, you need to go to the word. You need to go to the word to rebuke the enemy. Look what he said. He said, blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life. Look at this, which Yahuwah has promised to them that love him. And if you love him, you will do what? Keep his commandment. If you love me, you will keep my commandment. What is the commandment? He said, have no other God before thee. Love him with all your heart, mind, and soul. And then he turned around and said, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? He said, these two hang all the laws and the prophets. So every commandment ties into those two. Because you're going to obey Yah and you're going to be good to your fellow servant, right? Don't beat them. Don't get drunk and start hanging out with those that hasn't fully received yet. Huh? Let's look at another one that talks about the crown of life, because it talks about temptation and tribulation again in order to receive the crown of life. That's Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Look what it say. Fear none of those things which you shall suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be what? Tried. And ye shall have tribulation. How many days? 10 days. Be faithful unto death. Even in death, be faithful. What? Listen, Abraham was faithful unto death. Noah was faithful unto death. Huh? Enoch was translated and didn't see death. But if you're faithful unto death, guess what he said? I will give you a crown of life. I will give you a crown of life. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says unto the called out assembly. He that overcomes shall not be hurt of the second death. Look at that. So the crown of life. Then in Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, right? Verse 21, it talks about an incorruptible crown, 21 through 27. Look what it said. To them that are without the Torah, as without the Torah, not being without the Torah to Yahuwah, but subject to the Torah of Mashiach, that I might gain them that are without Torah. To the weak become as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Did he say he will save all? No. He said, but that I may save some. Why? Because it's one plant, one water, y'all give the increase, that I may save some. And this I do for the Basora's sake, for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receives the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. So in this world, they do it to receive a corruptible, something that perishes. But we do it to receive a what? Incorruptible crown. But we an incorruptible crown, a crown that does not corrupt. Why? Because if you lay your treasures up in heaven, well neither moth nor rust can touch it. There's no corruption that come to it. But so many people are laying up treasures here on earth. And he said, where your heart is, there will your treasure be. Or where your treasure is, there your heart will be. Right? And so we have to have our hearts and our minds planted on Yah. Now let's look. You can receive a crown of righteousness if you go to 2 Timothy. If you go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, 2 Timothy chapter 4, and I'm gonna read verses 1 through 8. He said, I charge you therefore before Yahuwah and Adonai Yahushua Mashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season. So what is he saying right there? That there's gonna be times where you're gonna be called upon right there in the spark of the moment. You have to be ready. Whether you got something prepared or whether you don't have anything prepared. And listen, it isn't just a preaching, but it's being able to just minister, to serve. You have to be ready to serve at that beckons call, right? Let me give you an example of something that really got me yesterday. So while my wife was out getting a procedure done before her surgery, we were sitting in the me and my son was sitting in the waiting area outside of the office that she was at. So we went out so that way he can, play his game or whatever. And I was sitting there playing with him, but I was so focused on keeping an eye on him that I could have helped wheel a lady. See, so I should have been willing to do this, but I didn't want to leave him unguarded because he's so hyper. And he'll follow me wherever I go, and he gonna keep his eyes on me. But I was afraid that if I took my eye off him, you know how people is nowadays. But that's where I have to work on my faith. All right, because he's my youngest, he's my last, he's my beloved son. So he's my Katsi. So I have to be aware that just like Abraham had the faith that Yitzhak would be raised, I have to trust that Yah that when it comes down, because I was in the hospital, I could have served many that came in there that needed help or whatever. So we had to be willing to do things in season and out of season. So look what else he said. He said, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto lies. But watching all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry. So you stay true. You stay true. Even if others around you are starting to fade away and do their own thing, you stay true to what Yah have you doing. All right. He said, for I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. And he's talking about he knows his death is coming, right? So he said, I have fought the good fight. I have finished my course. I have guarded the belief. I have kept my belief. I kept it all the way until the end. Look what he said. He said, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which Yahuwah, the righteous judge, shall give me at the day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Remember, there's some that wicked servant said, my master delays his coming, and he wasn't able to receive his crown of righteousness. He wasn't able to receive his well done, good and faithful servant. But he got cast in the outer darkness. And when we hear that, depart from me, ye work of iniquity, it's going to happen so quick at the blink of the eye that you're going to be separated from Yah, and just that quick. Because you can't. Okay, whenever there's a virus or a disease, your body does what it can to get rid of it. And it's the same way with this body of Messiah. If it's disease, you got to get rid of it. So what my procedure that my wife doing, they going to cut it out to get rid of the disease, the cancer, so that it doesn't infiltrate anymore, right? But guess what? He's allowing the weeds and the tares to grow together. And as they grow together, the weeds or the wheats will get stronger. So when they pull it up, the tares won't be able to rip them or tear them apart. I mean, they won't be delicate. They'll be strengthened and matured. And so that's why we have to stay strong in this walk. And we have to endure. Look what he said. I have fought a good fight. I have guarded my belief. Right? And he said, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which Yahuwah, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, not only me, but unto also them that love his appearing. Do your diligence to come shortly unto me. So look at what he's saying right now. Look what he's saying. And listen, we ain't even done. There's still 2 more crowns that you can receive, right? Look at 1 Peter. Go to 1 Peter real quick with me. 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 2 through 4. Look what he said. And he's repeating the words that Messiah repeated to him. He said, feed the flock of Yahuwah, which is among you. Take the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly. Not for filthy lucre. Don't do anything. You don't listen. That's why me and my wife, we discussed it. Eventually we're gonna start getting some shirts made. We're gonna start getting this stuff made. And I ain't putting it on my YouTube channel to say it. I just want to send it out to people. I would like to be able to just buy CEPHERs and send them to people randomly. I don't want, listen, anything that is sent as a donation, we put it to the side. Honestly, those that have been giving donations, you've been helping out with my wife's cancer treatment. And thank Yahuwah for that. Glory be to Yah, because I don't never want, listen, filthy lucre is being, you know how people, hey, if you do this, I'll give you this. If you do this, you know what I'm saying? Like you're being told basically by Satan to lead the people astray, but do it in a slick way. We have to be careful that in this walk, we're not allowing ourselves to be led astray, or how the scriptures say it, deceiving ourselves while deceiving others. Shalom. Shalom. I love when I see the original start gathering here, because it just makes me so glad to see my brothers and sisters. Shalom, Miss Phenomenal. 1 Peter 5. 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 2 through 4. And we're talking about the crowns that you can receive when you hear well done. So he said, feed the flock of Yahuwah, which is among you, taking oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not by filthy lucre. What is the word called, Mama? Love, when people by bribery. Don't be bribed. Don't be bribed to do this. Gospel, no. But of a ready mind. Be of a ready mind. What is he saying right there? Remember, we saying don't be drunken. He said, neither as being lords over Yah's heritage. Remember, each and every, don't don't try to think that you're just because he gave you a little leeway or he don't promoted you. Don't think that you are Yah, that you can just beat your fellow servant, that you could just sit down and drink with them and have a very good time and forget that eventually he's coming back. He said, but being examples of the flock. So when we receive that leadership, we become examples. Shabbat shalom, Sister Ernestine. Shabbat shalom. So look what he said. And when the chief shepherd, here we go again, shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fades not away. Just like that incorruptible crown, right? So you receive a crown of glory that receives not that fades not away. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with what? Humility. For y'all who will resist the proud. So when you got that pride and you think that, oh yeah, I've been made a bishop, I've been made a teacher, I've been made a prophet, I've been made this, I've been made that, and you feel like that it's okay for you to do what you want to do, then he resists the proud. Remember that. But he gives grace unto the humble. So humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of Yah, that he may exalt you in due time. So listen, there's a time and a season that he will exalt you. You don't have to exalt yourself. I had an example of that earlier this week, and I'm not gonna go in details about it, but I had an example of that earlier this week, where somebody was kind of vulgar towards me because I gave honor to another couple. But hey, to all glory be to Yah. And the only thing is, we have to know how to stay humble. So, before Yah, because I want to receive these crowns. So I don't want to justify receiving one crown. I want a crown of life. I want an incorruptible crown. I want a crown of righteousness, a crown of glory. But guess what? There's also a crown of rejoicing. A crown of rejoicing. If you go to Philippians, y'all, yep. And we're going to start at Philippians chapter 3, starting from verse 17. Look what he said. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk, so as ye have us for an example. What did Peter just say? Be a good example for the flock. So we having 2 or 3 witnesses agreeing on this thing, right? So he said, for many walk of whom I have told you often, and not tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Mashiach, whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly, their temptations, their lust, their desires for earthly things. Look what he said. And whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. For our conversation is in heaven. Remember, we ain't about that earthly talk. When they come talking about some earthlings, that's what we call them earthlings. They earthbound. We heaven bound, right? So look what he said. For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Adonai Yahusha HaMashiach. Remember, we're still talking about his appearance, his coming. So when he appears, what did he say? He said, you're looking for to hear that what? Well done. Because just because he delayed his coming doesn't mean that he's not coming. Remember what we talked about before, expect delays. Those of you that have been on this YouTube channel long enough, y'all know we talked about expect delays. Remember when Moses delayed, the people played. And that's what happened with this fellow servant. He delayed, and the master delayed, and he began to play. And at his coming, he was separated. He was separated and could not enter in to the joy of his master. So look what else he said. He said, who shall change our vile body? This body is vile, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able to even subdue all things unto himself. Now let's go into verse 4. Therefore, my brethren, dearly beloved, and long for my joy and crown. He's talking about the crown of rejoicing. Crown of rejoicing. So stand fast in Yahuwah, my dearly beloved. So look at that. He said we had to stand fast. We had to continue. We had to endure. And we had to remember when we going through, what are we supposed to say? Thank you, Yahusha. When we having an issue, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to give him glory. Because we do all things that he may be glorified. And as we continue on this walk, as we continue to walk, remember remember how I broke it down to you. Those of y'all that just came in, here go the letters. IN, which means we can know and experience. Remember, Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. If you ask, it shall be given. If you knock, the door shall be open. If you seek, you shall find. When you allow your faith to be put to work by going forth and committing action, guess what? You will experience the actions of Yah in your life. Then what is the bet? The letter bet. It is the hospitality of heaven's household. What is it? Again, in John 14:3, he said, I have gone to prepare a place. In my Father's house, there are many what? Mansions, right? And then you got the let. I messed it up a little bit, but it's the let. All right. Meaning when we open the door and enter the pathway to eternal life, and we talked about that. John chapter 10, verse 7. I am the door. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Remember what he said. He lead us down the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Right? So we are to become good servants so we can hear well done. I mean, hey guys, I appreciate each and every one of y'all for your support and for showing up here on the Sabbath day gathering. I just thank each and every one of y'all that are faithful, that's always here with us on the thresher floor and the Sabbath day gathering. Monday, my wife will be having her surgery, and I will keep y'all updated through the Abraham Chronicles. And I also thank each and every one of you for your prayers. And y'all also keep the leaders of House of Restoration, which is Peter Michael Martinez and his wife, in prayer, because they're riding around the nation and they're putting up a prayer wall, and we're all gathering together in hands and arms in prayer with them. And then remember, if you want to see it tomorrow night, there will be a blood moon tomorrow night. Going from September 20th, I'm sorry, not September. Why am I in September? From January 20th to the 21st. So that'll be somewhere between, I want to say, I think it's 11:30 and 12:50. So probably about a good hour. So it'll probably be at its peak about 12:20, where the whole moon will be like blood. So I will be at work, but I will also be trying to go outside and record. So I might disappear for a second and go outside and record that, and then I upload it once I get home. And once again, I just thank each and every one of y'all for your support. And I ask that y'all help share these messages so that others can receive the miraculous word that Yahushua HaMashiach is the Malek Malakim, or King of Kings, and Adonai Ha-Adonai, or Lord of Lords. Amen. And we know that Yahushua HaMashiach will appear one day at the glory of his coming. All right. So I love you. Yahuwah love you. Don't forget to say, stop real quick. Everybody, stop what you're doing and give a praise offering. Hallelujah. Glory be to Yah. Hallelujah. I see they started popping up before I got a chance to do it. So make sure you give your praise offering to Yah, and just continue to enjoy the rest of your Sabbath with Yah. Study your word and all those scriptures that I give you. Go back and study them for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm just a vessel that he decided to use. I'm lowly, and I try to stay low. I love you. Yahuwah love you. Don't forget to say thank you, Yahusha. Talk to y'all soon.